Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to a new episode of Islam Life. Who is the prophet that had an incredible dream? Who is the prophet that got abandoned by his own brothers? Who is the prophet that got falsely accused? Which prophet was one whose story Allah declared as the best? This is the story of Prophet Yusuf. Yusuf was one from 12 brothers. His brothers disliked him and were very jealous of him because Yaqub, their dad, was attached to Yusuf the most. Yusuf had a dream and he didn't know what it had meant. The dream was 11 stars, the sun and the moon bowing down to him. He declared to his dad, and he said that Allah had given him prophecy and knowledge. Yaqub told Yusuf not to speak to anyone. As time went on, his brothers got very irritated. So the brothers grouped up and said that they needed to do something about Yusuf. They all named suggestions, but only one stuck out to them. The brothers asked to take Yusuf with them to play. Their father kept denying, but at last, after their pleading, he agreed. Yaqub informed them to always keep Yusuf with them. And he said, don't let him get eaten by a wolf. And they agreed and took him. They put Yusuf in a well and ran back home. They took Yusuf's shirt filled with the blood of a sheep and showed it to their father. Their explanation was, Dad, you were right. He did get eaten by a wolf. Yaqub was a very wise man and knew when you're attacked by a wolf, the wolf rips the shirt. Yaqub said, do not worry, I will wait patiently for my son. Family is not an important thing, it is everything. In the well, it was very dark and Yusuf was scared. Visitors came to the well and they were getting water. At one point, it got very heavy. Yusuf held on to the bucket. They lifted the bucket and noticed Yusuf. It was an eye-opener for them. They took Yusuf back to their village and sold him in the streets. Surprisingly, the Prime Minister of Egypt bought him and raised him in his home. He didn't raise him as a slave, and they both trusted each other. The Prime Minister loved him so much, he loved him as a son. As Yusuf grew up, he thanked Allah very much. People described Yusuf as the most attractive man they had ever seen. They also noticed that he was the most honest. The Prime Minister's wife was also attracted to him. One day, the Prime Minister's wife tried to kiss Yusuf, but he denied. The Prime Minister's wife chased him and ripped his shirt from behind, but the Prime Minister opened the doors and saw them together, with Yusuf's shirt ripped. The Prime Minister's wife said he was trying to grab her, but Yusuf denied. The Prime Minister did not know who to believe, so he looked at the evidence. The Prime Minister noticed Yaqub's ripped shirt. He knew his wife was lying. If Yusuf was trying to grab her, she would have ripped the front side as defense, but she ripped the back side, which meant his wife was lying. The Prime Minister was surprised and angry. The news spread around town very quickly. The Prime Minister's wife invited all the women she knew to talk about the temptation she had. She said that she admitted to the sin that she did, and the women were surprised. The wife of the Prime Minister called Yusuf and he came. All the women were astonished. They started cutting fruit as they looked at him. They were not paying attention to the fruits and cut their hands whilst watching Yusuf. When they looked down at their hands, they were astonished. The prime minister's wife said, "If Yusuf doesn't obey my orders, then I will put him in prison." Yusuf said, "I would rather be put in prison than doing a sin." And he walked away with his gaze lowered. The prime minister's wife, Zuleika, convinced the prime minister to jail him. The prime minister did not want to, but she pleaded. He had no choice but to put Yusuf in jail. That day, Yusuf was put in jail. In the jail, Allah gave Yusuf a very amazing gift. Gift was that Yusuf could interpret dreams. The people in the prison would always come to Yusuf to tell them about their dream. At that time, 2 men were put in jail, the servant of the king of Egypt and the cook of the king in Egypt. That night, they both had a strange dream. They could not figure out their dream, so they went to Yusuf. The cook's dream was that he was standing in the middle of nowhere. The cook had bread on his head, and they were 2 birds eating the bread. Yusuf said that he will die by being crucified. The servant's dream was that he was serving to the king. Yusuf said that one day he will be freed and return to the king. Yusuf told the servant to tell the king that there was a wrong soul named Yusuf in the jail, and the servant agreed. The cook was crucified just like the prophet had said. We will all face many defeats in life, but never let ourselves be defeated. Just like Prophet Yusuf, he got abandoned by his brothers and falsely accused and put in jail. But he never complained and knew that Allah had a plan. Stay tuned in the next couple of days for part 2 of the story of Prophet Yusuf. Thank you for watching Islam Life. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you.